So in today's episode, we're going to start attacking the back window, the upper portion into the roof. We'll see how far we get today. We got the bottom edge pretty much where I'm content with it. And we're going to steal some parts from the other car that I want to upgrade anyways. So follow along. Do me a favor, like the video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, do the whole YouTube thing, and let's see what we can make work back here. This is the old back window from my 39, the other car in the yard here. Now, when I bought the 40 parts car, the back window was pretty much mint. All of the flanges were in good shape. This one's a little bit thin, it's rusty. I didn't want to use it on my other car, and since I've got a new window flange, I'm going to put that one in my other car. Cut this one out this morning so that I can put it into this car. Luckily, these radiuses fit. It should be pretty straightforward. I've still got to finish out the roof corners, but we've cut it down to the point that I can start mocking it up and get it all cleaned up, trim everything to fit, and we can start installing it. So we marked this lip, lined it up where it needed to be, set it down, and then actually traced my cut directly onto the roof. From this, I traced the edge while it was overlapped and gave me a line that I can follow so that my cuts are pretty bang on. So I just got to get it tacked in and we can start fitting up the upper half. So next up, we're going to fit this upper half. That way we can pull these in. Obviously this side is kicked quite a bit out. I may have to cut a tack up here and adjust things. This stuff sits pretty much how I want it to sit. So we're going to get the upper half of the windshield frame on so that I can set my rear roof line. And once that's on, we can start messing with these outer corners. Now, since this window frame was actually already cut, this is how it was tacked up in the other car. It's not a whole lot of fitting. I just got to tack it back where it was. This actually lines up really well. There's not going to be a whole lot of cleanup I've got to do on this once it's welded. I need a little bit in these seams and the corners because the window tapers a little bit. But you can see, if I pull that metal, I can actually get this metal to pull flat into this corner here all the way. So next up, we're going to start fitting this side. This is the side I like. Once we've got this side fitted, we can go over to the driver's side and make sure that it matches what we've already done. So we got this corner kind of pulled. It all lines up pretty good. I got to pull all this roof down and finish shaping all of this. But what I want to do is get the other side pulled in, trimmed, tacked up so we've got some surface to work with. Because there's a ton of hammer and dolly work here since the car's been sectioned on both sides. It's been chopped, the glass has been, the window opening's been chopped, everything's got to move around a little bit. None of these are perfect. So what I'm doing right now is basically tacking things into place where they're super close. And then once we get everything in about where it needs to go, I can go at it with a hammer and dolly as I finish welding it up and cleaning it up. But for right now, we're going to move on to the other side. So I got the other side pulled in. And you can see here basically what I've done is overlap the metal. All of the metal pulls in except for the very bottom corner there. Once I got the driver's side where I liked it, I realized that it was leaned a little bit further forward. So I cut the passenger side loose and overlapped it again. So now basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the cutoff wheel up along the seam here, because once I run it up this seam, that means that line will line up perfectly. On this side, we'll cut it just in the side of this Sharpie mark here, cut it up there, and once I've broken the tacks free, I'll be able to pull everything together and tack it up so that the two panels are flush, and then we can start tying in the upper pieces. When I first put this side window plate in, it was pulling everything in a really funny way, so I cut that out temporarily until we can get the structure around the trunk and the rear window sorted out, and then once that's sorted out, I can pull this in. Without it attached to anything, it still moves pretty easily. Even it's only got to move into about there to line up. So everything's a little bit malleable right now. Flexes out of the way, and give a quick time lapse here how this all pulls together, and we'll get onto the higher portion of the roof. So now that we got the back window in, we don't need the support anymore. Pulled out what was blocking it up. Car squared off pretty good. Got the back window in, the rear section of roof. Everything's all tied together. I'm liking that low, skinny roof or window. And then we've got the rear upper windows filled in. The roof all seems to flow together pretty good. The roll pan wraps under nice. The lines on this car are coming together just deadly. And I can do a little bit more welding. I've got some spots up on the top here. You can kind of see here, right there, where you can see the roof dips. It's because the shapes aren't quite right, but it's actually quite flexible still. So right now, my big goal was to make sure that we got everything into place so that we can fine tune it and do the final body work. You know, I've seen some custom cars that'll have 1/2 inch of Bondo on it. Even if I didn't straighten these out, we're still closer than a lot of cars. But in this case, I'm going to work out all the metal until it's as flat as possible. The goal here is a clean car with no visible seams, but also almost no Bondo. So one of the things is about building a car from so many pieces lying around the yard is not everything jives perfectly. Everywhere there's a seam is a body panel that wasn't designed to be together. So down in the corner here, you can see the little point it comes to here. I've already adjusted it on the other side. But up on this side, we got a little bit of a ripple here, and it pops out a little bit here. Now, building a complete panel all fancy on the English wheel would obviously solve my problem, but we're not going to make it any better because I need to fill in this hole where I don't really want a sunroof. And since it's a compound curve, instead of using the brand new sheet metal, I have a portion of the roof that's on the window that's going into the other car, which isn't long enough, so we use that combined with the leftover roof from the other car and a couple of pieces from the fender left over from doing the rear roll pan, and we're going to combine all of that to fill this whole Frankenstein style. So basically it's just a matter of starting to stitch the pieces together like a Frankenstein monster. I got the back on there, and you can see the radius is almost bang on. We've got that pretty good. Inside, it's just a couple of 2x4s pushing up against another 2x4, pieces overlapping. That way we can mark our cuts. Basically just lay the piece over top, trace the line where it lines up to the other panel, and then shove it into place a little bit, get some tacks on there, and we can adjust it later, but that'll give us our rough shape. So to make life a little bit easier one-handed here, because I'm working by myself, roof line looks good. I know this panel's too wide, but basically all I've done is put a couple of tack welds, one in the middle to hold it, tacks at the outer corners, just trying to keep it safe, and then I'm going to run the zip cut right along the edge of that panel and cut away the free metal. So I've got a nice butt weld there, and we'll clean her up, get her welded. With that back portion tacked all along here, obviously it's high a little bit. There's still the sliver that we cut off of there underneath, propped up by the wood. Measured forward how far this front section of roof extends, and it comes to about here. So we drew a straight line across the car, and that's going to be our cut line. So when we're cutting the top panel, we're also cutting the roof panel that's underneath. And a couple more minutes, I'll trim that. We can prop up the lines as we go and weld that portion of roof in, and we can start rolling over these corners. Got the drip rail out of the way and got this side hammered down and tacked up. Now, let's see, the roof line isn't actually that bad, and the supports are now on the ground. But I know there's some waves in the roof line. My biggest concern right now, I know there's a high spot right here, a low spot right there, but the biggest concern right now is to get it all holding itself up, which is something that these pieces have never done. So I'm gonna get the other side like that, get it stitched well enough to start cutting up corners, and we'll start welding some fenders into my roof. And I think that's where we're gonna leave this off today. Now, this roof is actually unsupported except for this spot. I'm using 2x4s on the ground to push up the roof into the shape that I want, because I'm forcing a little bit of metal here. But it's actually already pretty strong enough to move it around. All of these shapes are rough, and they're all going to change a little bit as I get all the lines flowing properly, but this gives me my starting point. So I'll give you guys a pan around and show you what the roof looks like. And down in front of me we've got a pressure washer motor dropped off by a buddy of mine. We're going to build a wheelbarrow tea bucket go-kart for the kids, and so I got something to go get the mail in, but that's something coming up. And next time we're going to finish up the roof in the back and start welding up a lot of these seams, and that way we can start pulling this interior support bars out of this thing and start working on the floorboards. So if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below, give me some feedback on what's going on, tell me that my audio sucks because I already know it. Do the whole YouTube thing, and we'll see you next time.